humanity survived. Our ancestors have destroyed the world, and we had to pay the price. With over 100 years without sunlight. But we have prepared ourselves for our chance to make things right. They stole from us a life of happiness. Still, we will make the best of it. Even though Mother Earth is grim and tainted, we have managed to survive. And we will keep surviving.
Alright, welcome to today's wildcard slot. This is Endzone, A World Apart. Now, although I said this is a first look, that's a bit misleading. I have played through the entire tutorial of this game. It's a long and verbose tutorial, but I didn't drop it during that time, so that's a good indicator. This game came out of early access recently, which can be a mixed bag. I'm very, very bigoted against early access games in general. Even once they're out of early access, I feel like they suffer a bit from the experience. But maybe that's just me clouded by Oxygen Not Included. In any case, we've got a city builder here. I would best describe it as the offspring of Frostpunk and Banished, except about 80% of the genes come from Banished and about 5% of it from Frostpunk, and the other 15%, I don't know, maybe the Milkman or something. Survival city builder. World's got a lot of problems. There's drought, there's radiation, and we've got to build a city and hope that our people survive. So let's get to it. A new game, survival mode. We're just going to play on normal because I don't know this game well enough to do it on anything harder, and I don't even want to look at the map. So let's just randomize that. Just click for corrupt town. Sounds good to me. Let's get into it. Straight away, if you've ever played or seen Banished played, you're going to feel very at home here. This game lifts a lot from Banished. I mean, so much. It's not quite enough to say this is just a reskinned Banished, but you can definitely see where the inspiration comes from.
This looks like a good place to settle. You know what we learned in the Endzone? Basic needs come first and foremost. We have to build up a water and food supply, and then...
And then? Oh, okay, just that. Right, well, the tutorial I think prepared me well enough for that. I don't know any ratios or anything, but I'm sure we'll be able to make do. First things first, here's the map. You have the resources. You have wood, and as any game with wood in it, I'm sure the wood economy is incredibly important. And then you have scrap piles lying around the place of various sizes. These ones are worth 25 scrap, these tiny ones worth 4 or 5. Big thing like a truck worth 10, so straight away what I'm seeing is something from Banished, right? Wood to get, and instead of stone and surface metal, it's scrap. Scrap can be processed into various things, but we still need it as scrap for quite a while. There are these jarring rocks coming out of the ground, which we'll be able to mine through, and there's sources of water, which can be used for both fishing and just for getting water. Water's very important in this game. What else is there to cover straight away? Oh yeah, how about the size of the map? This map's huge compared to Banished. Like, really, really huge. You could make a real sprawling metropolis here, assuming the game can support that. We're probably not going to be doing that today. I need to wrap my mind around this. Ratios don't matter, in my opinion, until solidly in the mid-game. Well, we are solidly not in the mid-game right now. Let's see, we've got 5 kiddos, 10 adults. I believe they come as children, young adults, adults, and old adults. And will die natural deaths eventually as old adults. So, as best as I can understand, we're going to want everybody building straight away. It's entirely possible that my economy, or my entire city here, crashes and burns during all this, but that's okay. I am still getting to know this game. This isn't like Frostpunk, where I just jump in and everything just seems to somehow click with me for reasons unknown. I don't even know how I got that good at Frostpunk. Maybe I'm not even that good. Maybe it's more a case of just nobody else bothered to learn the game particularly well. We're gonna set ourselves up a jetty here because early access to water will be quite good. Ugh, early access and quite good in the same sentence. What's the world coming to? We store water in a cistern, and I reckon it's best just to keep the cistern right next to it so that water deliverers will not have to travel far at all. And I guess we have a lot of living quarters around here and industry over here. Makes sense to me. Yeah, why not? Just slam that one down. I won't bother with roads just yet. I don't know the percentage increase that roads are going to give, but perhaps I never will. What else am I going to need out of this? A fishing hut is an idea. I can have this right here and have early access to food. I don't know if it's like Banished, where the more you cover water, the better the fishing is going to be. I'm going to assume yes, which means putting you here is going to be really rather inefficient. The shape of this water is actually not very handy for my fishing post here. Like, at all. I could alternatively do some gathering, but I think gathering can really go badly for you if there's no, like if there's a drought or seasons change and there's no food to be had. Nonetheless, there is quite a bit to be gathered around here, so why don't I just slam you down anyway? Oh, well there's a good reason not to. Apparently this whole area is full of radioactive materials. So maybe that's not a great idea. Natural deaths is in for Jake's amusement. I seldom kill people for my amusement. Let's not make such bold claims. Okay, maybe I should go and gather food where there's a significantly lower risk of radiation. I believe radiation risk comes and goes, although I could be dead wrong about that. Doesn't matter though, I'm going to slam down a gatherer's cabin over here and hope that they cut the mustard. And people will get to work. I'm not going to give them homes just yet, and they haven't earned that. Let's come off of that view. I'm also definitely going to want to deal with the forests and the scrap. Now you can just set it down to gather resources, but I'd rather have a full-on scrap yard and a full-on forester's lodge. Maybe on harder difficulties you wouldn't really be able to afford that, but too bad. I'm having it. What will I do? Will I just slam you down here? I imagine Forester's Lodge and Gatherers work well together. And a scrapyard's going to be needed where there's lots of scrap. You look pretty scrappy. It's an interesting location. We could send scouts to explore, or we could just trash the place. And I'm liking the sound of trashing. Oh, well, there's a lot of scrap to be had over here, so I don't see a good reason not to just slam the scrapyard over here. Our main materials place, you know, much like in Banished with the cart that you start with, is our bus wreck here. I imagine we came out of the Endzone, which is our underground survival facility where we lived for a century, and drove this rickety old bus into the middle of nowhere until we decided, yep, here's our home. Also, I just slammed you in the middle of radiation, didn't I? I did. I'm not sure how much of a problem that is. I mean, look, the radiation's encroaching on our very own home base, but come on, it's just low-level radiation. Everything in the world has a low level of radiation, so let's just accept that as a reality and keep on going. So where are all our people, you might reasonably ask? I believe they're going to get resources from here and bring it over to there. Good. Can I give Jake advice so that he can make better placing decisions? Nah, I'm going in blind here. If I want advice, I'll ask for it. Especially knowing that this game has been in early access for as long as it has. There are doubtlessly people that have lived and breathed this game and know it inside and out. Not interested at all. I want to figure this game out, not have it figured out for me. Okay then, I'll shut up. Good job, Abersem. Yeah, see, looks like some of the radiation stuff is kind of going away. It's just moving along here. But I wouldn't worry about it. I think our people wear anti-radiation stuff as it is. You seem to be wearing a mask here. Yeah, they've got a carbon mask, which keeps them safe from up to medium levels of radiation. I don't think that saves the food, but yeah. Jake plays an early access game. What's this heresy? This game came out of early access, actually. Quite recently. I don't stream early access games, that's the rule. There's no point having any people do these jobs because nothing's set up for it. Yeah, these things still need to be built. I hope I had all the materials to do this stuff, but I'm sure I do. Hey, see, there we go. The water facilities are ready to rock and or roll. Jetty is up. You're up, so I'm going to assign 2 people to water carrying. And if that proves to be too much, I'll just knock it down to 1. There we go. It's quite some nice quality of life stuff in this compared to Banished, like seeing where the people are working, their movement patterns. That I like. So water is a massively important resource in this, and making sure that it's not contaminated with radiation, also quite important. So our people just go over to the lake on the jetty that we built for them and dump the water into the cistern, and then if anybody needs water, they can go to said cistern and pick it up. Later on we'll have a marketplace which functions just like the Banished marketplace, that is a logistics system that picks up goods and centralizes them, but shouldn't need that right now. We also have a gatherer's cabin operational, so again I'm going to pool a couple of builders and make them into gatherers. How many gatherers do you need? I don't know, but 2 for now, because I only have 10 working population to deal with. And I want that scrapyard and the Forester's Lodge operational as well, and then we'll just have 2 people working on everything, and then I'll see what my other 2 builders can get to work on. Probably some housing. Jake, can you check where the radiation gets real? Radiation was barely present in the tutorial. In fact, I think the tutorial map was completely free of radiation outside of a few events. But it looks like largely there's no real problem here. I'm going to guess that there are events, maybe some horrible toxic fallout that appears to spread it some more. But since my people start with immunity to low-level radiation because of their clothing, I don't think this is a problem. It'll become a problem when that clothing wears out, but we can deal with that. So people are still building up. It's fine by me. Where will I have my residential area, I wonder? Maybe over here. It's going to be next to the water, the food is there. Yeah, I'll have people live over here. And this will be industry zone. Interesting thing that people care about how nice their neighborhood is. It's going to make them more, what is it, confident. They don't use happy, they don't use content, they don't use motivated. This game calls it confidence. It's a good thing we didn't have that in the Frostpunk runs, man. Could you imagine the confidence level of my guys? Right. Something that hasn't taken from Banished, and I'm kind of surprised that it didn't, is the ability to pin these menus. I guess the UI is a bit more bloated than Banished, for better and for worse. So you couldn't really pin this menu somewhere on screen. I don't know, if I was playing on full screen on this enormous monitor, I reckon I could have that permanently pinned up, but I don't, and I don't know the hotkey for it. P for professions? No? Well, B is for building. Ah, there we go, V for professionals. How this game was in early access for so long and did not show key bindings on tooltips, I don't know. But any excuse to add ammunition to my dislike of early access is good in my book. But let's not weigh that against the game too heavily. After all, spoiler, I quite like what I see so far. Right. So when building things, again, much like in Banished, they need to clear the area and then bring the materials over, and then the building work begins. And they seem fairly quick at building. I guess that makes sense. A lot of things here are fairly prefabricated. They're just using corrugated metals and wooden planks that can be found in abundance here. Still, another couple of builders made to be foresters. I imagine it'll take a long time, but they will cut down and replant forests within this area. And you can actually relocate this area. That, I think, is really cool. So I could actually say, no, not this circle, this circle. Hey, how about that? Means it's not central for it, but I don't think that's a problem. That is really cool. It also works for the scrapyard. So let's say we're done with all this stuff. I could say go and get this stuff. But I won't. And it's probably inefficient because I'd want to move the scrapyard over so there's less back and forthing. Doesn't stop me thinking that it's really cool. And it is really cool. Yeah, I've already scaled the UI settings. Aversem. I set it to 110%. I usually go up to 110 or 120 on games because, well, I'm not good at seeing things. Even though I recently went to the eye doctor and they said your eyes are perfect. So, I guess the problem's in the brain. Okay, so with some very basic infrastructure set down, I do want my people to actually have a place to live. Interesting note from Banished here. In Banished, people would only breed if they were able to live without their crotchety old parents. It's kind of similar here, but it's set in the buildings. So people will only breed if they get a cabin to breed in. Otherwise, you can just mass them up in shelters. The buildings in this game are huge compared to Banished. I mean, they start out small, but then you get considerably bigger things. They're also a lot less square than Banished. It might sound like I'm going on Banished, Banished, Banished when talking about this game, and that's because I think it's only fair. The game shares a lot of similarities with good old Banished. And I'm not about to call that a bad thing. Banished was fantastic, and we have long needed something to come along and be anywhere near as good. These cabins are very cheap, just wood and scrap, but they only house one family. When I have crotchety old people that don't need their own cabins, then I'm probably going to consider slamming down a bigger shelter for them. In fact, I could probably slam one down around here. Maybe I'm thinking a little too much for the future here, but the future is now. Down it goes. That's right, just building all over the nuclear zone, but that's probably okay. I think there's something I can do about that. I can't remember where it falls under, but there is something that denuclears an area. What was it? Here we go, decontamination post. Decontamination post produces decontamination kits. These are used in storages of surrounding buildings to free food and other resources from contamination, but it requires some things that I don't have, notably plastic. I'll need refinement buildings for that, but hey ho. Jake, would you be willing to move the chat to the top edge of the professions window so we can see the minimap? Not really. There's nothing important in the minimap, but there is stuff that's going to pop up. I'm pretty sure there's stuff that... Yeah, there's stuff that pops up here. The minimap is the least important thing, and I could not even conceive somebody needing to look at it. I'm not even looking at it, so the chat goes there. The Banished guy is indeed working on something else, but I haven't heard any progress on it in quite some time. He has his own ongoing dev diary thing with it. Alright, well, somebody has popped up and become an adult, and that means more building work for you. I'll get these houses going, I'll get a school going so I can educate little runts. Much like in Banished, education helps people be a lot more productive, and perhaps more notably not burn through their clothes quite as quick. Does this game have prospecting, mining, and smelting? There's certainly mining. You would set up a mine in this to mine out, I forget what. prospecting? Kind of. You send out scout teams to prospect old abandoned areas. So let's see if we can find something that's an interesting area. I don't know if this would count or not, actually. Ah, here we go. Interesting location. You would send out scouts to go and prospect what there is here, and there'd be some events to check out and maybe get some resources before you tear the thing down. Playing with it in tutorial, it felt a little tacked on, but I only used it in the tutorial there. It may well be better than that. So, giving actual housing for my people is going to make them a whole lot happier, but I can make them even happier by having nicer housing. Hopefully they don't mind it being such a... Wait, are they decontaminating the land? Digging up contaminated soil. Ooh, that's interesting. Didn't know that was a thing, but now I do. Not sure they covered that in the tutorial. Alright, since I have most of my people working, there's a lot less building work, or a lot fewer builders available for this stuff, but we're getting it done anyway. Tock, tock, tock. Right, the water situation looks okay. The water tank is filling up. The food situation seems fine. You can set your product limits, again, just like in Banished. There are a lot of different products in this game, and this menu scrolls worryingly quickly, but still, good to know that those can be set. I feel like I'm a lot less patient with games than I was when I was younger. And I don't mean younger as a kid, I mean like 5 or 10 years ago. Even so, I find myself really quite impressed with what I see here. So, we're getting to the point where my people are starting to expect homes. We've been here for... wow, we're on season 3 already. Still, my people want places to actually live, so... what's the hold-up? Well, my hold-up is probably the lack of builders, so get building. Maybe I could pause this for now. Is there a pause construction? There we go. Deactivate that, so that people build these shelters first. These cabins first, rather. And if you're ever wondering where the builders are, you can click this and see what they're doing. They have to go back to this thing and grab the goodies, but grab them they do. And just like that, I think everybody's homed. Well, almost everyone's home. There we go. And the rest can have this lovely shelter, which will take a wee bit of time to do. So the children are becoming adults. We'll soon have another one. Good. Yeah, the intro, we played that at the very start. It felt very on the nose, but it doesn't really matter, right? What matters is the gameplay. A lot of people, especially people on YouTube, tend to hold up games for like their great storytelling. It's like, well, that's nice and all, but I'm here for gameplay, not game watch, and certainly not game read, but gameplay. Now, it might be early days, but I am actually going to build some nice things for our people here. What do we want? Some shrubs, some torches? I want flags, but flags cost cloth, and I certainly don't have those. A scrap totem. That's a little big. Wind chimes need metal. Flower beds. Ooh. Flower bed is 15, shrub is 10, but the flower bed gives up +3 attractiveness. Gonna give you guys a couple of flower beds here and there. What about a hedge? A hedge is more expensive. It increases desirability. I don't know how far it increases desirability though. So I'm gonna build these here and see how far it reaches out. I would have expected some kind of area of effect thing, but not happening. Yeah, not seeing it. Oh well. We do have a desirability thing here. We can see undesirable buildings, but that's why I'm keeping them away from where people live. What about game here, Jake? Oh, I do like some game here. I love games. I love games more than most people could ever dream to understand. Right, so plenty of work for people to do, and because I've given them nice homes to live in, confidence is up now. Higher rate of production, newborn settlers will live slightly longer. Newborns? Wouldn't we really want newborns to live in general? So we built up some hedges, and just like that, we got level 4 desirability in all these places. That's nice. That's real nice. So it's about time that we paid attention to this bar on the bottom that feels very Frostpunk-like. There's rain. Rain is good as long as it's not contaminated rain. No rain is going to mean that the soil dries out quite a bit. Where can we see soil dryness? Here we go. Here's soil moisture. Blue is great. Green is good. Anything else is not. That's good if we're going to be growing crops. I'm not that big on growing crops, but maybe I will. We'll see. Right now I'm happy enough just gathering what there is out there, but if my food keeps going down, I'm probably going to change my mind on that one. Again, I don't know good scales of production here. In Banished, I could get a good idea of how much my gatherers are going to help out. This, I'm considerably less sure. Especially when they have to travel all the way back here with their goodies. So yeah, not sure at all. Already, people are saying they want more places to live. I'm starting to wonder if a shelter is a good idea or not, because I want my people breeding like there's no tomorrow. More people are better people. I also don't know how aging works. In Banished, one season was actually a year, so when you went from spring to summer, people would age by 1 whole year. This one, not sure. Might be the same. These are just called seasons here. Note that this is drought. I believe in a drought, this lake will dry up entirely, and if I want water after that, I need to dig a well and consider that. Paths are indeed free, but they will cost time to build. And I would rather my people spent their time building something like this shelter. Come on, get building, everybody. How's my water situation? Water situation is actually quite good, so that's fine. This thing will get relatively full. There we go. Now it's not so contaminated. Oh, I've made a mistake here. Cloth is needed for the shelter. And I sure as sugar don't make cloth. Well, I'll deactivate the production of that and instead build myself a few more simple cabins. There's a lot more contaminated stuff to have to dig up here. I wonder how digging up contaminated soil really works. Won't claim to know these things. I will, however, claim that there's a lot of desirability around here thanks to building up all this shrubbery. That was very nice of me. I wonder if people walk through the shrubs and that, or if it's better to put a path here or more desirability boosters. I don't know. But if living in happy places makes my people more productive, then I'm probably going to want it. Alright, well, with that in mind, I'll have another flower bed. I am treating my people very nicely here. But I kind of have to. I don't know the game well enough to really put the squeeze on my people. I am baffled, though, at the lack of area of effect indicator on this. Like, how far do you work? Let's see. Perhaps this will tell me some more. This is a real nice looking almanac. Cancel, remove radiation. Okay, so removing radiation is a task that I can tell people to do. That's very cool. But I'm interested in decorations. Decorations increase the contentedness of all settings of dwelling within the area's sphere of influence. Great, what's the sphere of influence? No idea. Okay. Perhaps this will show. There we go. Excellent. So it does show. It's on the attractiveness thingamajigger. Good. Very good. So they're actually a lot larger than I thought. Nice. You could be affected by a hedge that's so far away from you. Wonderful. I like Dawn of Man more than Banished. Now, I like Dawn of Man, but that game was lacking. And it really felt like it lacked payoff as well. Alright, groovy. People are breeding. We can see that the number of children are going up. Once I get these hedges done, it's going to be school time. I believe that's community. School. Could build medical facilities, but I could also not. Where would I have a school? I'm not sure if its positioning is important, and it doesn't affect how nice an area is or not. So we'll just have this generally be Communityville. There we go. If I slam the school over there, oh, that's a lot of soil to dig up. Maybe I should be using the stuff that isn't all radiated right now for building, but I won't. Once we have this built, there's going to be plenty of teaching work to be done. I worry a bit about my food production, but I'll worry more when it drops down to like 300 or so. People are getting less happy now, and then more happy, and then less happy, I don't know. Oncoming drought, stockpile water and food in order to survive. The soil is going to become infertile. Probably talking about this oncoming drought. So it might be worth my time slamming in a little more workforce on gathering food. We'll keep that water carrying going because I want that filled up. Maybe even have one fewer builder in order to get more gathering done. What's that question mark to the right side of the school site? This is an interesting location. I could send scouts over to look inside, or I could just tear the place down. I'm not quite at the point of having scout outposts going. Or maybe I would be. Again, I don't know scales of production or anything in this game. Need to get a feel for it. I didn't learn Frostpunk overnight. Although it kind of feels like I did. One day I was doing a new home on normal mode, and the next day I was the go-to guy for playing on extreme. I probably couldn't watch any of the earlier videos though. I used to say that Sawdust was terrible. Never lived that one down. It doesn't cost anything to build a dirt road, so let's at least get these put down. Build a road over to the school. Mush. They cut down trees that are in the way, but do I get resources from it, I wonder? Or are they just destroyed unless it's taken in by a forester? Do not know. Do not know at all. I really see what they were going for with the look of the buildings, but the problem I think I'm going to find is that everything's going to look the same. I'll have to build a bigger city before I can substantiate that claim. But, I mean, there's our school, and here are our houses, and they're all just piles of corrugated scrap in my view. But hey, I'm not a game critic. Oh, I already have a teacher? Must have set that one up. Still, very good. Get a teacher in, and then these kids will learn and become educated. And they actually have percentage education. I don't know if it's binary between 0 and 100 in terms of effectiveness, but as people go there, they'll go up in batches of 20%. No, this is not produced by the same people as Banished. You know who produced this? The galactic minds behind Pizza Express 3 made this game. I played Pizza Express 3, and sorry if any developer is watching this right now. I thought Pizza Express 3 was terrible. So I'm all the more surprised that something great like this came out. Might be a little early to call this great, but I am seeing very promising signs from this. Autosaving? Okay, thanks. Never seen a game that warns you that an autosave is coming. Maybe when you have a massive sprawling city, the autosave takes an abhorrent amount of time. I wouldn't know. What I do know is that we are running low on radiation protection kit, so we should probably get on that ASAP. How does this one work again? I think the recycler turns scrap into, yeah, metal, cloth, plastic, or electronics. And some of those are going to be more necessary than others. Now I wonder, if you go there, will you take it straight from the scrapyard, or do you specifically need it from the center point there? Well, I'm probably going to need a lot of recycling done as time goes on, so let's get that done. And my goodness, this is going to be a problem, isn't it? Is it task? Remove radiation? There's a lot of radiation going on here. Could we just... Oh, there's a ton of radiation. I know it's a lot of work to do, but someone's got to do it. Jake, you may not be a critic, but we're a game developer. Surely you know some basics behind game design. Sure. At least with one recycler set up, I could get things like cloth and that to get these shelters going. I don't want these old coots living in houses that need to be taken up by young, fertile breeders. Still. Let's get a little bit of recycling done. The refiner, yeah, make me some cloth so that I can build my shelter, and then I will probably need some other things in order to get more clothes, because my radiation protection is going down. I'm also going to need tools. Just a little bit of production should be fine. We can always scale it up. Resources, surely. Ooh, charcoal kiln. Tailor makes clothing that protects settlers against radiation. Requires cloth. It's going to be needed. And you are producing that cloth slowly but surely. Now, when I have you doing that, I think that... I think the masks need charcoal. Don't know what the full body suits need. But surely just the neck scarf should be alright for a while. We don't have a lot of medium and above level radiation at all. Nah, nothing even within spitting distance here, so let's ignore that. A large part of radiation cleanup is essentially burying topsoil. That sounds like fun. I dug up an entire garden in my youth. Kind of miss garden work. Okay, we have too many people working on water. One should suffice for now. The food situation is looking grim, though. Also, what do people need? Stockpile water and food in order to survive. That drought is on its way. I should really consider how to get some good old food going. And the answer is obviously to kill everything nearby. Where are the animals? Where are the animals? I'm imagining that they would pop up. Oh, right, there we go. They pop up like so when I go around with my hunting lodge. That's kind of hard to see. There they go. We've got some up there, and we've got some up here. Surely there'll be plenty of animals roaming around near where we do all our forestation and deforestation. So, hunting lodge, go. Shouldn't require anything other than wood and scrap, both of which we have in relative abundance. I have a feeling that my wood economy is going to be feeling a bit strangled soon, but I could always set up another forester area down south here. And then again, I'm going to probably need to expand the living areas too. I could also just set people up to tear down this wood. So what I could do is task, gather wood. And just have that set up here. And just generally wherever you are not. So all this stuff as well. Oh, I can only build one of these, so I'd have to move it around. Fair enough. And I think that sort of gathering is done by anybody who's just a settler. Carries out simple tasks and helps to transport resources. Is that different from gatherer? Well, that's gatherer. That's hunter, and I will need hunters. And I'll need a tailor eventually. I'm sure we're fine. Achievement progress. Glimmer of hope. What's that all about? Have 50 settlers in one session. Well, we have 25. I guess we're halfway there. Yeah, there is a food richness mechanic. Provision of a large number of types of food with herbs keeps settlers' health and lowers the risk of an outbreak of disease. That's probably not a problem. Maybe getting rid of all this radiation isn't a necessary thing. Let's cancel the removal of all this radiation so that my people can get to work on other potentially more important things. Ah, there we go. So yes, settlers count as workforce here. What's not working here? Ah, we set up the hunter lodge and we don't have hunters. So we're going to be down to a skeletal staff of builders. Do I have any cloth yet? What's the hold-up, recycler? All the cloth is currently being invested in the tailor's shop, which makes sense. My people are still relatively confident. There's a lot of kids, time to send them down the coal mines. They're aging up nicely, and... hey, they're even getting educated. I have too many people that are completely uneducated, though. Maybe those are people that aged up at the very start before I built a school. Maybe not. Settlers with no protective clothing. Yeah, I'm working on that. Soon we'll have our tailor. And then we'll give them some very basic protective gear. Yeah, all the people that were born have been using up this stuff. Well, hopefully they don't get too sick. Many of our settlers are forced to move across this wasteland unprotected. We should boost our production of protective clothing. Let's do it. So, we actually get rewarded with some carbon masks if we do it. So the game likes to give you tasks like that. Interesting. Well, if that's how you're going to play it, I will play that game. I'm going to take my settler and turn them into a... oh, I can only have one refiner in the recycler, can't I? Okay, fair enough. I'll get that cloth soon enough. Oh, they don't even want me to produce the stuff, they just want me to build a tailor shop. That sounds something that can be gamed. It's often better to have a skeleton crew than a crew of skeletons, says Ark, no angel. Well, hey. The scrap income I'm doing is good, but my forestry commission isn't working as well as I'd like. Okay, so this scrapyard seems to work really tremendously well. They've torn down almost all the scrap in the area, and I'm not sure if I want to... let's see. Recovers some of the resources that were originally used for construction. I don't know how much some is. I'm sure I will eventually. That drought is on its way, but hopefully the addition of some hunting is building up the food nicely. You can capture beasts and put them into pastures, but I don't think that's necessary currently. Checking that tailor shop's taking a fair whack to be made. There we go. And there we go. Now I just want you to make neck scarves out of cloth, but I'd rather build up some cloth first. By the way, I did your thing here. Oh, I need to... oh, shoot. They actually want me to make some carbon masks. Carbon masks are going to be a problem, because that takes charcoal, which I don't have. I would have to establish a charcoal kiln for it. And this costs wood. It's also an unattractive building, but that's exactly why it's being built over in the industry zone. Yeah, I think I'll slam you down over here. I don't have a lot of builders for this, but should be easy enough. Alright, then we'll work on the advanced carbon masks rather than neck scarves, just have everybody using those. How bad could it be? As ever, the lack of people is rearing its ugly head. I'm actually going to assign another person to building work just to get this erected sooner. Damn it, kids, grow older faster. I need workforce. Oh, we got the goods here nice and fast. And there we go. Real slick. I'll have one person working on burning charcoal. And then once I have a little bit of that, I'll send one of them to be a tailor as well. Does the kiln need electrical power? I don't think any basic things need electrical power. That's the impression I'm getting. Electrical power boosts the efficiency of some places. Let's see, it would consume 150 power from the grid and it would shorten production time. So I imagine I'd make things faster in this workshop. Same with the recycler. We'll look into power production, but for now we need the basic setup. It's like Banish. You don't instantly go to making stone houses and... not a lot of advanced buildings in Banished, are there? A pub. I guess you don't immediately erect a pub. You gotta start out with your wee shacks. You might say you don't start by building a marketplace, but marketplace is the first thing I ever lay down on a game of Banished. I honestly think that all planning should be done around marketplaces in Banished. And that might be the same here. I just don't know enough about the game to make that call yet. I can make that assumption, but I don't have the skills to pull it off. The work area circle for the scrap collector can be moved. Oh yeah, I was talking about that earlier. It doesn't have to be yet though. There's still some things to pick up. Once it's completely done there, it'll probably give me a warning sign, and then I shall move it accordingly. We've got a couple bits of cloth, so we can begin at least scarf production, but once you have your coal, then I know we're good to go. So, why are you not working, workforce man? Why is it pointing towards... Ah, this is where the worker is. What are you up to? You're just strolling around. Well, get to bloody work. There we go. So you're going to go and grab resources from our party van, bring them over to the charcoal kiln. You need to bring 2 over? I don't know, but he's busy sodding off again. He must be thirsty. Alright, well, good on you. Okay, stuck in Peter Pan, achievement unlocked. Have more children than adults. Ha ha ha, the Frostpunk dream. Okay, now this will give us at least those 2 charcoal bits that I needed, and now you can begin your production. Now I have no builders, but I'm sure these kids are just raring to age up. Hey, good, employment's growing. Ah, pie charts. Obviously, I did not have a lot of love for Victoria 2 after a while, but that doesn't stop a love of pie charts. Everybody loves pie charts, though. It's just an innate love of humanity. Okay, there's a lot of scrap here that needs to be cleared, and that's getting in the way of the Forestry Commission, so I'm going to move you over there and get that done. The forest must be slow work and stuff, but it wasn't Banished too. I want to know a bit more about how they operate. I also wonder if trees help in any way. Do they help disperse I was going to say plague, but it's not plague, the radiation at all? I don't think that would make sense, but I'm not a radiotherapist guy. I don't know much about radiation. What is pretty cool though is this. The lake is dried out, which brings another question. How can we fish in a lake that periodically dries out and re-waters? I don't know. Maybe it rains fish as well. Point is, there's no reason to have water carriers right now when there's no water to carry. So that gives me someone that can work on, I don't know, the wood production. I love pie, you can keep the chart. What is your favorite kind of pie, Wooter? I myself like cherry pie. And again, I also really like an apple pie, a really good apple pie. Okay, I'm gonna need to start thinking about tools, because we are running low on tools. The question is if I make metal tools or scrap tools. Nice to have that extra layer of mechanics, says Mort. Yes and no. Banished... Oh dear, somebody died? Looks like an adult did finally die. What a shame. The Banished developer actually talked about this in something that was quite interesting. That it was always a plan of his to have soil richness mechanics, which worked with crop rotation. But he couldn't get it to be fun, because however he did it, it was always fiddly. You always had to keep going and managing your farms in a way that wasn't a lot of fun. So in the end he just scrapped it. Maybe there's a way to make it fun. Rune Factory 4 makes it fun, I'll give you that. But Banished did not. This game has something kind of similar there with this drought. When a drought strikes, I pull my workforce away from things that are no longer working in drought. I don't know why. I feel like that's something like a level of scutter that shouldn't exist. And maybe there is a bypass for it, but my initial thought is when I have drought, I don't want people working here. Maybe I don't want people working in the gathering. Like, you've got a question mark here. Needs wild boar. Okay, so here we go. These places aren't working because the drought has murdered the things that we need here. So, does that mean that I should take the workers off every time? And then when the drought comes back, put them back in? That seems peculiar. Still, gives me people that can cut down these bits of wood, so that's not all bad. Jake, do you need to build a graveyard? Yes. Yes, I do. People are going to need a cemetery, which is... Oh, right, it doesn't have different sizes. And it's actually a... there's actually a job for that, a mortician. Mortician. I mean, what do I have it nice and central? Wouldn't make sense to have it central. Well, not to me, at least. It's just so big. Finding a place to put something this big. There you go, just slam you over there. I'm sure we'll be using this this place later on anyway. Should make people a bit happier when they have somewhere to lay the dead. Ooh. Takes a long time to make these carbon masks, though. Quite a long time. And we just keep drowning in these kids. You can actually pass reforms to make people use birth control. I don't think it makes them happy, though. Cemetery adjacent to the school. Classic. It is classic. Being taught next to the church and having the church next to the graveyard. It's the Holy Trinity. Children should be taught the weight of death early on. What is it they said in Bully? Oh, Jimmy. There are two sides to biology. Life and death. You know what I'm saying? That's right, you want me to kill Darby. Not the boy. The plant boy. Ah, Bully was so good, and over too soon. Alright, there we go. It's a sure thing this new tailor shop will do a wonderful job. We've already started production and achieved preliminary figures, Chief. Great. I'm still not really sure I want those instead of neck scarves. But why not? It should quite steadily produce the resources that we need. The masks, that is. As long as everything else is working fine. And people will go and get the clothing that they need. Well, 6 of the 8 will. And at least if they're educated, they won't burn through it quite so quickly. So that water goes down pretty quick during a drought. Thankfully, we're going to get water back soon. Achievement unlocked, and yet we stand. Survive your first drought. Well, it didn't really feel that hurtful, but I did set up food and water production pretty much immediately. So, oh, okay, that filled up fast. Cool. Cool. Well, get back to filling that thing up, get back to hunting and gathering. And if we have cloth coming in, then surely we can start having a shelter here. I feel like I need more cloth production, but the recycler can only have one person working there at a time. In stock, reserve, production limit. Yeah, I'm gonna open that thing up because these shelters won't be enough for long. Jake, thanks for playing through Bully. It brought me a lot of joy recently. Says another Jake. Oh, you're very welcome, Jake. Tell me, were your parents a fan of the Blues Brothers as well? Because that's how I got my name. It wasn't until relatively recently that I actually watched through the Blues Brothers and I was like, okay, so Jake is some despicable ex-convict, and you gave me that name. Good tastes. Right, at least these places are really nice for people to live in. I think that's single-handedly keeping contentedness up, just having nice places to live. And you know what? It looks better than the houses I saw in San Francisco. A lot better. What a dump. Maybe the game devs are from San Francisco, and they just thought this is what real life is like. My name is a biblical reference. My mother is a born-again Christian. Oh, well, that sounds much worse than my name selection. Lack of labor is stifling here. So I stand by what I said about 80% Banished, 5% Frostpunk. This game, you could have convinced me that this is some kind of spiritual sequel to Banished and I'd eat it up. People brought this to my attention because it's like, hey, you like Frostpunk, you like this, but the Frostpunk elements are extremely limited to pretty much environmental hazards and the fact that you have this weather counter. The whole feel of Frostpunk was very different to this. In particular, you care a bit more about the individual people here more. The scaling's off. Like in Frostpunk, you never have 35 people unless the situation's really hit the fan. And then you don't care about individual things down to charcoal kinning, recycling, tailors, shopping. Things are a lot more grouped together than that. Which does call out to me quite a bit more. That said, I love Banished, and I like this. Makes me profoundly uncomfortable that people are keen to hear my opinion on games. It feels like it puts me on more of a pedestal than I ever should be on. But I don't have a problem saying what I think, I just have a problem with how people can take that. Blues Brothers is a great movie. Yeah, it's not a great video game though. Very far from a great video game, it's awful. Okay, a lot of people are reaching maturity, and that means they should be building. The water situation looks a little less than ideal right now, but... Oh, of course we have more people now, so let's double up on the water, let's triple up on the water carriers actually. And I probably need a mortician, just one should do. Oh, well. What I wonder, and this is a question, if you have somebody assigned to a profession but they can't do their profession, for example, mortician, but the cemetery is not built yet, or say a recycler but there's no scrap to be recycled, will they do settler tasks like gathering wood, or will they just bum about? Because that's a big bit of efficiency saving in knowing that. Don't worry, Jake, people won't take you seriously anymore if you tell them your opinion on Fort Zombie. Fort Zombie was everything you could have wanted until State of Decay came along and showed you how it's really done. I had a lot of fun with Fort Zombie. A hell of a lot of fun. One thing that State of Decay does not do that Fort Zombie does, though, is that you can't arm 10-year-olds with Lee Enfield rifles in State of Decay. You can certainly do it in Fort Zombie. I fell in love with a girl in that game. She was only 10 years old, but I gave her a Lee Enfield rifle, and she shot a zombie off of me. It was amazing. The gun was bigger than she was, and she was so horrifically ugly. But I can't change the fact that she saved my life. Actually, everyone was horrifically ugly in that game. Still, Fort Zombie. Probably never going to see it again here because the game's awful. But it still has a special place in my heart. Classic romance. I prefer to say old-fashioned. Wait, should probably be the other way around. Fort Zombie also had this mechanic where you would bring families together, but the game was relatively short, and it's very rare that you'd ever find two members of the same family, let alone the entire family. I can't remember the lassie's name. My housemate was there at the time, you might remember her. It's kind of funny when you set these guys to speed up. Da -da 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 -da. They don't move around randomly like they do in Banished, which is good, makes them a lot more efficient at building. But there we go, now I've got a lot of spaces for this. And I just want the old and the infertile living here, I want everybody else breeding. I wonder if that's going to chase out the old and the infertile then. It's hard to avoid the fact that I will need to expand the cabin collection so we can have more breeding done. Also, ooh, school is limited to 10 people. Also, why can you have multiple teachers? Will multiple teachers increase this capacity? Doesn't look like it. Dang, that's a lot of schooling. That's a heck of a lot of schooling, actually. More than I'd like to do. Clear some of this for me as well, please. Why do newly built buildings have to be shoddy in post-apocalyptic worlds? Surely people still know how to put planks perpendicular to one another. Yeah, these look fairly perpendicular. I guess it's a case of we're in a hurry. And given they're working with scraps, I'd say this doesn't look too bad. It's been 100 years since anyone built anything. Yeah, it's all just theory. Multiple generations of living underground here. The intro story said that the sun had been blocked out for 100 years. I was under the impression that would have killed all life on Earth, but I'm not a biochemist. I know a guy who is a biochemist, actually, and I occasionally call him up and ask him inane questions. That's one of my hobbies. I usually call him up and go, ah, you're a biochemist, right? Do mushrooms have feelings? And then he always gives a sincere answer, and I'm just laughing my ass off. It's a good time. He tunes into the stream every now and then, so maybe I've ruined the experience for him by saying that. I've never actually asked him if mushrooms have feelings, but I did ask him, you know, what's a sponge? And then he told me all about the subsea sponges, and I said, no, I mean like the one in my kitchen. And then he just goes, ah. Groans like that sustain me. Okay, graveyard's up and operational, so people should get a little less bummed out when people start dying. This looks fairly okay. Lack of water is a bit concerning. What I could do is actually upgrade my tower to a water tower, but I'm going to need more materials. I'm going to upgrade my recycling stations now. Man, Jake, you are a rude chap, says Deathshed. I don't want to hear that from the guy that brought Space Colony to the stream. Still, recycling. I want 2 more plants of it, actually. Here's a 1, and... yeah, there's a 2. Get those built, and we'll be able to produce metals and plastics, both of which are going to be needed for slightly more advanced buildings. Mortician doesn't feel all that necessary at this point, but oh well. The scrap production looks great. Production limit of 500, and we're doing okay. It also has this neat system where it does tell you when things are reserved, so I assume they're being reserved for building these buildings. 30 and 30? So, oh, well, no. 30 and 28. Or 22, rather, so go figure. 52 is reserved. Excelente. And there we go, one for plastic, one for metal, one for cloth, and that's going to vastly increase our diversity of materials available. Nice. Now I still need to clean out some of this scrap. My problem is my scrap amounts are a bit high and I don't have a lot of... wait, surely there's a way I can check my resource capacity. Hey, there we go. Kind of low. What I'm going to do is increase the scrap capacity by 500, double it if you will, and set up a... do I do gather scrap or do another junkyard? There's going to be a lot more scrap that I need to do around here, so a junkyard seems sensible. Scrapyard, rather. I could put the scrapyard next to the mortician. There we go. Don't accidentally dig up Grandpa. Oh, tools, yeah. I managed to completely forget about tools. Hey, the children are dying. Oh no, they're becoming adults. Yeah. No justice in the world. Still, this recycler's operational. And this one will be soon too. So, workshop creates tools. Workshop goes right there. Metal is needed to produce workshop. Well, good thing we're about to, or we're already producing metal. Good. People without tools apparently don't work very well. Well, they work pathetically in Banished, so I'm going to assume this is much the same. A lot of people don't have protective clothing. What are you dilly-dallying for? Get to work. Once this game has mod support, I predict a Fallout mod will arrive in 3 seconds. Right, I was meaning to ask about this one. Does this game have mod support? Because Frostpunk burned me hard with its lack of mod support. I would have single-handedly kept that game alive through mod support, but even though it was advertised pre-release, they did not deliver on mod support. I have my own theories on why, but they're only theories, and they're completely baseless. Well, I guess they're educated guesses, but it would be bad of me to voice those, so let's leave that as is. The point is they didn't have mod support. And I think that's the reason that Frostpunk will be a dead and forgotten game inside 6 months. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm probably not. Tell us your theories, Jake. Well, I just said I wouldn't, but my word isn't worth a damn thing. So I believe that they made the stuff they're working with in the game. I suspect that they had some knowledge that left the company, and then they suddenly realized that they could not put together the mod tools for something that they ended up not understanding that much. Also, consider the latest expansion, On the Edge. On the Edge felt like it was developed by a completely different team from the core Frostpunk people. They used very different game design ideas than Frostpunk itself, and it felt jarringly tacked on compared to the rest of the game. So it's my belief that the core team behind Frostpunk have moved on to working on something else. They probably got burnt out from working on Frostpunk. It was a big undertaking for a relatively small team. So I suspect it was left to a B team, or even outsourced. I don't know if it was or wasn't, I'm just saying that this is what it feels like it could have been. And all that together means that they did not have the people with the know-how nor the motivation to put together tools for it. But all that is complete conjecture. It could just be that it really was too complicated for them to put together mod tools, and then they said, well, we'd rather not spend all this time to do it. After all, it took them years to make a Mac port, and they had to outsource that as well. Years. Imagine buying Frostpunk, waiting for your Mac port for your Mac. Why you have a Mac, I don't know, but that's your choice. And it took so long. But at what cost? Yeah, that's the tune for Frostpunk, isn't it? At what cost? Maybe it's because it's early on here, or maybe I just don't appreciate the risk, but this feels a lot more laid back than Banished. Banished would bite you in the backside for failing to keep up with production. But I've very lazily just put together a hunter's lodge and a gatherer's cabin, and I'm surviving fine. I'd really like a fisher set up here, but I think they'd have a long way to go to deliver the goods. That said, though, I might set up one anyway. Or I could do farming, but I don't like farming in games like these. Pasturing, quite nice, but farming... good way to get food diversity, but still. Oh, it's under food, of course. Orchards I quite like as well. Do we have any seeds? I don't know. Screw it, I could go for a fish. That probably gets you a lot of fish, although I worry about the distance you're going to have to travel to deposit the fish. We'll build you anyway. How are you doing? Still gathering up all that scrap? Hunky-dory. Once I have some metals set aside, I'll finally get some tools going. That's alright, I sometimes go toolless for quite some time in Banished. Sure, it drops production, but you'll eventually get them going. I hate building mines in Banished, so I never tend to deal with that. Oh, you're all done. Keep that wood economy going strong. And keep those jobs going for the settlers. That's right, I need plastic to upgrade you. Professionals are complaining about a lack of tools. We ought to build a workshop. Well, that sounds great. It's wonderful when people ask you to do something that you plan to do already. Not just in games, but in real life. Because they end up feeling indebted to you. Because, you know, he listened to me. He listened and did exactly what I asked him to. That's amazing. And then you're sitting going, plan to do that, actually. It's a good feeling. But you should never let on. Alright, so you'll get that done. You'll produce metal tools. These recycling stations work a lot slower than I remember them doing so in the tutorial. Ah, but in the tutorial it rewarded you with a lot of materials when you finished a task, so I guess that was it. What if people remind you to do something you already planned to do? It's kind of the same thing. Well, it's a little different. It's less imposing on their part. Lesson learned, never let yourself feel indebted to date. Never. Oh, never. A bit lacking in the old building work. Really lacking in food, though. I was just talking about how that can bite you in the butt. The next drought is a few seasons away. I don't think we're in that much trouble, but maybe I'm letting my people breed a bit too much. I'll let anyone live here now. There we go. Plenty of capacity for more people. And this can be kept for people that still want to breed. That no protective clothing seems weird to me, though. I already have 2 people working here. What's the holdup? Ah, maybe it's just my first cycle of people who've burnt through all of their tools. Wait, that was weird the way this worked, wasn't it? Completed its cycle, then did that. Maybe it's the second person working on it. Still, cloth production is horrifically low for me. They're right next to where they can get all their scraps. So I'm left wondering what takes their workers so long. Maybe the cloth is all being used on something? Nah, surely not. I only need it for the shelter and I already built that. Alright, get those metal tools going, since they specifically want metal tools. 2 scraps, 2 metal, 2 wood. I'd love some numbers on how effective these are. I'm sure they exist. This game's been in early access long enough for people to have accumulated all that data. Okay, the food situation is starting to look incredibly grim, so that's becoming a priority. It's alright though, we can get some more foodylicious going on here. And then just assign a lot more people to working on food. There we go. Have no fear, I am no stranger to starvation situation. More gathering. Oh no, the gathering isn't what's built yet, it's the fishing. I wonder if they'll start eating each other in this game as well. So how much fish are you gathering? I don't know. I feel like if I'm going to dive deeply into this game, I need to figure out scales of production better. So each time they fish, they're what, gathering 10 at a time? Don't know. Just don't know. Here we go. Fish, reserved, stock. Mushrooms, berries. Don't know. Just don't know. Are there any building blueprints eating your cloth? I don't think so. Hey, my scrapyard. I set you up here, didn't I? Well, this one's still working, clearing out all this, but once it has cleared out everything within the Forest Commission's area, I might even get rid of the scrapyard, since scrap is one thing I'm not struggling on. Probably the worst job to have in this society. I feel like tanner would be horrible. It smells so bad. Doubtlessly one of the recyclers. You're smelting actual junk. I mean, just think about what people build with in certain parts of the world and you're having to pick through all that. Ugh. At least scrapyard, you're just collecting it all. Here you're processing it. So yeah, recycler has got to be the lowest case to work here. I wonder if more could be done with color in this game. I guess the puffs of smoke are an easy way to tell what's industrial, but then it doesn't come out of the scrapyard and that. My concern with this game is that if you build a big city, it's all just going to look like this. And that worries me a bit. But I haven't built a big city yet. Maybe someday I will. Low food! Accumulate more food or build up larger stockpile. I'm working on it. Hold your horses, game. There we go, now I can get more gathering done. Lots of gathering, lots of fishing, and even a bit of hunting. And since we have some metal coming in, the toolery, there we go, we're making those metal tools. Good. Maybe higher tier buildings look better. Yeah, one thing that I want to build up is this water tower. Especially with the drought coming, I want to have more water stored up. Oh, you can't see these achievements popping up, can you? I do. I got Glimmer of Hope and something else that I didn't quite keep track of. Okay, so water tower collects and stores water, can be used to da-da-da-da. How much does it store though? This thing stores up to 2,000. This will store another amount. We'll build it up anyway. It's going to use up that plastic of ours, but so be it. Oh no, what'll we do without Chibos? What indeed? The only buildings I don't feel look unique enough are the clothing and tool shops and decontamination post, but I play really zoomed out usually. The buildings are quite busy compared to Banished. It's probably so unfair to just keep comparing this game to Banished. Banished was fantastic. And it's also a little unfair because Banished was so shallow. Banished didn't attempt to do a lot, so what little it did, it could afford to do really well. This game's attempting to do quite a lot more. You might feel a little unfairly punished for that. Alright, well at least my people are relatively happy. The food situation stabilizes. The water is not. Are you still collecting water? The new workshop is ready for action. Engineers made an extra effort to immediately do something against the shortage. That'll help us. Thanks, Chief. Nice. So there's the tool situation largely helped out. Do I need another tailor, though? Maybe the problem is lack of cloth, because holy moly do we lack cloth. I wonder if there's a better version of recycling. Maybe that refinery. Yeah, Banish was one guy, and was it only 7 years ago? Feels like it was longer. Employs a lot of refiners who simultaneously separate metal, cloth, plastic, or electronics from scrap. Cool and all, but I need to research that, and we're not researching that. Let's rotate you. What I can do is have a lot of recyclers around here, and then I can make them do different things depending on our priorities at the time. But water is becoming an issue, so let's get more of that. There she goes. Yeah, these fishermen have a long way to go to deposit that food. They'd work a lot more efficiently if they had a deposit area here. But for now, this is how they'll have to work. I hope this thing can be upgraded so that I can store a lot of water for the drought as well. That's good. I really like that. It reminds me of Frostpunk, trying to squeeze out everything you can before a big freeze comes. And that is where the 5% Frostpunk comes in my view. Accumulate more water or build up larger da-da-da-da-da. I'm working on it. Hey, there we go. Nice. Now we've got a big old water tower. I tried to find a setting to make buildings not do this when you hover over them, but I couldn't. I think it looks kind of horrible. Right. Let's make every effort to fill this thing up to 5,000. So we're going to employ a lot of people on hauling that water. I don't know why a pump is a little out of the question, but it is. Gosh, I need more people working, but we're focused so much on food production here. Don't really want to pool a lot of others. Well, goodbye builders, hello water collectors. I need a couple more recyclers as well. Did I ever build that second school? I did. I did give it a school teacher? No, I didn't. There you go. You've served your purpose, you just go away. And it becomes one with the earth. What? Okay, sure, why not? Why the dickens not? Oh, you're right, it was a scrapyard. I thought I built a second school. But, I guess I'm wrong. So what's going on with the kids? How's education going? Well, actually, we're educating loads of them, so maybe one school is enough. Very few people are uneducated. Wish I could find a bit more out about that. Maybe population, education. What am I looking at? The number of the season, the drought, the uneducated, still like so. Hell, it's working capacity. Actually, what I could probably do is check out the list of kids here. You, for example. This is your progress towards becoming an adult. This is your education. You're probably fine. You might want to turn on the charcoal filter in the water tower. Do I, though? There's no real risk of radiation in our water right now. Amount of water filtered per coal 600. I don't have a lot of charcoal though. I got 24 and I'd rather keep that 24. Well, the food situation's turned around nicely. See, this is something I'm worried about with cultivating land. The land changes a lot in how wet or dry it is. I think you can irrigate though, so I probably wouldn't want to build anything up in terms of that until irrigation arrives. And when will irrigation arrive? I don't know. Let's see. Resources, logistics, technology. Water. Irrigation plant. Irrigation plant system increases soil moisture in its range of influence over time. It consumes water. So you could have a dedicated farming area around this area. That sounds pretty cool. But I'm fine enough with hunter-gathering for now. I assumed your hatred of charcoal would transcend frostbite. I think charcoal's pretty great. Turning wood into coal, amazing. See that primitive technology guy when he builds his little charcoal kiln? Loved it. No, my only disgust towards charcoal is mechanically in Frostpunk. It's like, here, spend wood to make coal, when you could instead spend nothing to make coal just by building a thumper. Also, you need to research charcoal kiln and all the things to make charcoal kilns not completely wastes of time. It's maddening is what it is. Don't really... Oh right, there's still some roads to be made and such, so I'll keep one lazy builder going. Otherwise, I want a lot of water being collected. I do wonder really if there's a way to automate the process. Still, everyone's fairly central here. I don't feel the need to go full logistical bombard. The only thing I don't like is how far my fishermen have to go to bring the fish back. Look, 120 brought in a season for 4 people. That is grim. How are you doing? Quite a lot better. What's that minus 20? Last season you generated negative 20 berries. Amazing. Yeah, you can make additional storage barns, just like in Banished, and centralize them with a market, just like in Banished. Daytime with uncontaminated rain. Lovely. I hope things get more oppressive later on. Like, I want just contamination, sandstorms sweeping all over my colony later on. They've got to think up a more efficient way of getting water than by hand here. I assume that's something that you researched, though. We haven't done that yet. Perhaps we should build a research... Ooh, expedition! Costs a lot of metal that I don't have, but I want to start looking at this. I didn't really frame what this stream was about. Like, I didn't... Normally I say we're just going to do X, Y, and Z, but this game is full of a lot of unknowns for me, so I couldn't really promise anything from the get-go. Wait, you're probably infringing on the Forestry Commission here. Ooh, massively. I want this to be full of, yeah, trees probably generate food and bushes for my gatherers, so you're a no-go. He doesn't sink slowly into the ground, though. No, Expedition Center can be... Ooh, this is quite a nice place for it. Right next to the bus wreck. That makes no sense, actually, since this is a central point for gathering resources. No, you should probably be a lot more out of the way. I just slam you over here. He doesn't know. Sure, why not? Just put you there for now. I don't think it's important where it goes. Contamination gets a lot worse after enough time, and sooner as well on harder difficulties. Neat. It's important for a game like this to have challenge. I was tinkering around with the difficulties. It does look like you get a lot of really oppressive difficulty settings in it, and it's a lot more customizable than Frostpunk. Built up these recyclers with the intention of doing a lot more recycling, but lack of workers. Here's a thought. Okay, let's get more of them going. I want more cloth and I want more metal. Plastic seems to be doing okay because nothing actively uses it. Funny they make it look like a pet bottle there though. Pet? P-E-T? Well, a bottle. I have not bothered with any herbs or healing things for my people. I'm just using optimism bias to assume that they're not going to get sick. And you know what? It's working. Ooh, this is a lush place. It looks a lot like, again, just like Banished. Forester Lodge plus Gatherer's Cabin plus Hunting Lodge plus Herbalism plus Storage Barn is wonderful. It's not as efficiently dense as farming, but in Banished I never loved farming. It just felt like a step too far, so it's unsurprising that the Colonial Charter mod was way too many steps too far for me. The tool shortage is still hurting. And that's due to lack of metal, and the lack of metal is due to recyclers being agonizingly slow. Same with you needing cloth. Maybe I've expanded beyond, but I need population to do all of these things. Pretty sure they said there'll be no official modding support. What, this game did? Ooh, I won't like that if that's the case. State of Decay 2 doesn't really have much modding support. It's just that the people behind it put a lot of work into making those mods. And thank God they did. Yeah, I mean, Caesar 3 doesn't have modding support, but my God, you see what people have made for that? They made Julius. And Julius is fantastic. Okay, I got a lot of people dossing around and they need proper jobs to do. I want more wood and I want more scrap. How's the Forestry Commission looking? Could always have more people working the Forestry Commission. Get me more wood and get me more scrap. I'll have one person bumming about because if a teacher suddenly dies, I'll want a replacement teacher. And good, it's no longer quite so dense. Imagine having a classroom with 3 people. The quality of the teaching must be sky high. Drought is almost here, chappos. What I could do, and I think I will do, is build a well. Because a well will work even in a drought. Water, well. A well produces water slowly, but even during a drought. Short distance seems to go to wells, produce their efficiency. I only really want one. Damn, it's a big beefy bugger. But this just means that water will continue to be produced even during the drought, and it's going to stop me having to micro people on and off water fetching duty. Which seems good, because I don't want my people dying of lack of water. I'm a really thirsty guy, so the thought of going any real amount of time without water is kind of scary, speaking of. I struggle to run for even 10 minutes without water, let alone DDR. Achievement progress, just a sip. I think that's from storing 2,000 units of water. The simple truth is that no matter how skilled or smart a company's devs are, the smartest coders are all actually private and will always find a way to crack a program or game, says Digital Drifter. Well, there's always a bigger guy, right? Oh my, lack of places to live now. Well, it sounds like my people need to be Economically encouraged to breed. Sturdy house. Settlers live, give birth, can stand up better against it. Nope, shanty town for you guys. I'm always remarkably disappointed by what, Jake? Use your words. Gridding. Gridding my buildings together never makes me happy. I knew enough in Banished to not have to do that, thankfully. But I still know that it's more efficient to just jam them together like I'm doing here. In Banished I could do a nice thing like have my marketplace here, and I know its circled ranges like this, so I could dot houses around the outer bit of it and not have this concentrated mass of housing. But gridding is more efficient. Ah, there we go. Now my water workers don't know what to do, so my question is, what are they doing? Oh, they're standing around like idiots. Interesting. Current profession, idle. Yeah, well, that's a damn shame, isn't it? So for now, goodbye water carrying, hello building. Now, here's a follow-up question. What are the fishermen doing? Transferring resources. Ah, so there are resources in here that they're carrying back to base. It's fair enough, but eventually they won't have even that to do. And then there are these guys. Transferring, but there's nothing to gather because the drought has hit. This place looks a lot less droughty though. Oh my, for some reason this place is still wet enough. Is that because of all the trees? Nah, these trees got nuked. This game does quite a good job of terraforming the land here. Like, this looks dry but lush. This just looks dry and desolate. It looks good. And in a city builder, that's important. It's a numbers game. The more people your game reaches, the more likely a Jake analog gets his hands on it patrician style. Is it though? I mean, I pick up niche games all the time. People often bring up Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. I don't care. The game is in early access, and I do not touch early access games. It's an important rule. How else am I meant to be blindly opposed to early access if I actually give them a chance? The X-ray vision on building when you mouse over is bothering me. It messes. Yeah, I don't like it either. I really don't like it, but I can't see a way to turn this off. I get that it should highlight what you're hovering over so you know what's going on, but an outline would be nice, not whatever this is. It's also kind of... Yeah, great. Great description there. Yeah. Oh, well keeping is a job. Ah, so the well itself stocks up and then it needs to be transferred over. I think I understand. Did you actually wait for RimWorld 1.0? That's strong will. Yes, yes I did. And you know what? I had a fantastic time because of it. I believe that if I'd played it before 1.0, my enjoyment of 1.0 would have been diluted because it still had a lot of things that I would have seen already. These droughts are pretty tame. It's almost over already. Teardown was awesome, and I did enjoy it. I would have probably enjoyed it better if I'd waited for the full release, but I don't know. I'm waiting for it now, though. My hand was forced for Teardown, though. That was a Patreon game. And although I'm stalwart about not playing early access games, it's a bit of a dick move to say to people that like the channel so much that they'll support it, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. very rare for me to ever say that. These dried up shrubs and flower beds are still contributing to how nice the area is, despite being dried up, shriveled up corpses of plants. Teardown was a weekly one-shot and a Patreon game. One of my patrons really likes the weekly one-shot to the point where they want to put in games for it. I don't have a problem with that. I think I'd have a problem with it if multiple people jumped on that and every weekly one-shot was a Patreon one. But that's not the situation, so I'm not going to think about it for now. There are some problems worth thinking about, there are some problems definitely not worth thinking about. Alright, things look really rather stable here. I know we're short on protective equipment and tools, but both of those are actively being worked on, especially with the increased production of metal and cloth. Actually, I have a lot of metal and cloth, and yet, right, the workshop and the other place are actually low on workers there. That'll be why. So if I pump up the tailor to 2, and the technician, is it a technician in the workshop? Looks like it. That should double the output of both, and we should be good. I kind of wish they scaled up a bit more than that. The idea that you have this kind of setup and only 2 people can work, it's a bit, yeah, but seems okay for now. Did the Explorer building finish? Looks like it has. So, we could open the expedition window, and this is interesting. So it gives you this weird lookout, but this is actually the very same map. If we scout about enough, we'll find our home. Here we go. This is a little lacking on the immersion because, for example, this is an interesting place we can check out. It's within spitting distance of our own graveyard, and yet it's somewhere that you do a scouting expedition to. Frostlands, I think, did this a bit better, but so be it. Still, let's go and check it out. We need to sort out a scouting party. And maybe I know how to do that. That's right, I need to employ scouts. So here's a scout. So we'll send a scout, and the scout will go and check out the location, I think. I covered this in the tutorial, but I managed to forget a lot of it. Let's organize an expedition to the other side of the road. Right, it is the other side of the road. I imagine it's going to make a lot more sense for places that are way away, like this interesting location. This Hisital. I don't know what a Hisital is, but if we get some scouts over there... Bear in mind, these people have lived underground for a century. They'll only have heard of surface hospitals. Just imagine what they'll find there. But this kind of wrecked stuff on the map has a good look to it. I've never heard of Grounded, but since you said once it's finished, I'm going to assume it's either in development or early access. Alright, where's our scout at? He's going over for something, I don't really know what. Relocating oh, I think you pick up specific resources for scouting parties. Yeah, you pick up expedition rations, which I imagine we have some of. You know what, why even look when I can search? Expedition rations, 0. Okay, well, maybe he's taking them all over to here. Go, my friend, go. Oh, perhaps you produced those here. I didn't consider that, did I? Here we go. Shortened production time. I think you do produce these rations. Yeah, because he's taken over some venison with that I think he's going to turn into those rations. And then I can give rations to explorers, because, you know, the wild wastes of across the road are definitely going to need some tins of beans and backpacks full of, well, yet more beans. Okay, the rainy season will be coming soon. Unknown contamination. Build a weather station for forecasts. That sounds a bit wimpy. Almost as wimpy as having protective clothing. Come on, we got plenty for people. The tools production, though. Do I really need multiple workshops so soon? Because we're just not keeping up with tool production. Oh, well, there we go. I guess all the fish were just dried up, and now that they have the water here, they can operate again? Who knows? But the water and the food barely suffered during that drought, so I think we're doing A-okay. Okay, can we send that expedition yet? Yes, we can. In fact, Philip is literally crossing the road now. It's a dangerous task, but someone has to do it. Come on, Philip, what do your elf eyes see? Yeah, that's a greenhouse, alright. Okay, so I think it just marks it off as that. This must be one of the greenhouses that people used for farming. Man, life must have been much more carefree back then. The greenhouse itself is in bad shape, but there's a variety of plants growing here that we haven't seen anywhere else. Fascinating. So I think we can send over people to do a specific kind of expedition to it? I don't know. FPQC says he's in here to buy Jake's love. I'm not saying my love isn't for sale, but, well. So I think this game has a system where you can send certain better people to do an expedition, like... It recommends just about anyone other than a child can go in there, but if you have a settler badge, you'll do a better job of the expedition, I think. Ah, no, if you have a farming badge, you'll do better. Well, we don't. I'm going to send over Mary and Andrea, and I'm going to give them 2 whole... What, I've got a bunch of these. Take 4 of our things. Oh, I'd have to give them tools that I don't have. Surely they already have those things on them. Whatever, just get out there. I doubt you need anything special. So they're going to prepare their expedition, and then they're going to make the grand expedition to the greenhouse ruin, and I assume find a bunch of seeds for us. If only I had the tools to give them. I don't know if you just waste the tools by doing that or not, but I do know that I am struggling really hard to keep up with tools and clothes production. I'm actually starting to get some people that could do some leading work here. And hey, nice, the cloth and metal production is up, so it kind of makes sense to have another workshop and tailor going. If people are going to burn through them as quickly as they are, may as well be prepared for it. So, workshop and tailor shop. There you go. And it just seems right to have a road going through it. Another treacherous journey across the road. At least we know what lies beyond the road. Okay, what are they up to? I think they're making the rations that they need to go on the journey. Or maybe it just takes time to prepare anyway. I don't know, crossing that road's a dangerous thing. I think I've told them to make way too many rations for this. I wonder if they keep the rations or if it all just gets burned anyway. Ah, these are built already. That's excellent. Oh, don't make scrap tools, make proper metal tools, please. As well as advanced carbon masks with all that coal that we have. Oh yeah, it cost cloth and metal to build these, worth remembering that. But the production of both are fine. Okay, the explorers are equipping themselves. And then off they trot for the treacherous journey across the road. They're awaiting instructions. Okay,
We've
I'll
arrived at
instruct
the
you.
greenhouse, Chief. I don't know what that scout told you. To us, it just looks like any other ruins scattered around in the wilderness. Not very promising.
Right. Well, we could tell them to loot and return or look around, so get looking. Some plants are growing in planting area. Still a lush green oasis. There's an old ventilation shaft that we could dismantle. Okay. We don't know much about plants at all. Too bad. Get on with it. They failed to complete your task. These plants are of no use. We'll just collect some scrap. Okay. And now they have found some that are useful. Right, so I think the more I equipped them with, the more actions I could take here. So, they vaguely resemble the corn we know. We gather them, so we actually gain some corn seed. Ah, right, it's like banished. You get the seed and then you can plant it. And we got 8 corn as well. So everything's been done here. What about the ventilation shaft? Our expert tells us it would make a good refuge for some edible mushrooms. Alright, well, get it then. We found, looks like some kind of mushroom. We'll scrape them off carefully. Some kind of moss of fungi, or I gather sure it's edible. You already took a bite. I'm not sure 16 mushrooms is worth crying about. Okay. We're complete. Then loot it and return. Loot to the maximum. And it looks like they kept some of their rations. That's a bit more mushrooms than it sounded like, but sure. At last, we had it up to here with those rations. After a while, they weren't fit to eat anymore. Okay. I think thematically a lot of that was lost on me because it was right next door to us, but I think that'll get a bit more interesting if we check out somewhere much further afield. And I intend to. I want to see what else they have going for that. These events remind me very much of Anno 1800's exploration things, where you pack up your team with certain resources, send them off, and periodically you get those events. They were alright. They weren't amazing, but it was a nice distraction from building up your city otherwise. Jake, you left everything behind. What, really? I'm pretty sure I said grab everything. Quite certain I said grab everything. I thought I said max, then loot and return. How did I miss that? At the end there was a menu to transfer things from location to the expedition inventory. You did nothing there. The max button didn't move things to your inventory. Oh, okay. Well, that's a shame. Yeah, it's a damn shame. Can I tell them to go back and get it? Or are they just on their way back? Maybe they'll come back and I'll tell them to go again. Alright, they're back. Okay, I'll just send over somebody like Christian. Just get over there to the greenhouse, see if we can grab everything there. Damn, this is eating into city building time. Yeah, the way it looked was that by pressing 1, 10 or max, you can decide how much you take per click. Right, well that flew right over my head.
We've arrived at the greenhouse, Chief. I don't know what that scout told you.
Look, we've already checked the place. Just loot it and return. Ah, here we go. So this is a looted location. Now I needed to bring it over to the expedition and tell them to loot and return. Right, okay. Well, forgive me for thinking that max and loot and return would work, but oh well. Grab it all and back you come. And now the rest of this can be marked for salvage and taken apart. But I'm more interested in checking out one of these other places now. The Frostpunk exploration looked like it was a bit less of a hassle. Less hassle, but also less deep. It was just go to place, receive bacon, which was, yeah, there weren't often real decisions to be made. Ooh, you're actually out of ruins now. I can tell you to go and check other things. My scrap is looking a little lacking. There you go, go and take that. This is a really, really nice system. I love this. It can feel frustrating when you, let's say I position it here, but if I just moved it to the right a bit, I could have gotten a bit more stuff and you'd have to disassemble and reassemble. This system solves that wonderfully. And it's not the be-all and end-all. I wouldn't say it to go, set it to go over there because that's such a long journey. But it's good. Whoever came up with this was thinking on their feet. Alright, so once that expedition's back, great. Potential loot is stored in the expedition center, so I assume someone will pick that up later on. And this can just be marked for salvaging, and it'll be torn down for scrap like anything else. Lovely. How do you feel about the game overall? Asks FPQC. I said it earlier and I'm saying it now. I like what I see. If I ever have the itch for playing Banished, I think I'd pick this up instead. It's Banished, but more. It's a little less comfy. But I think that's just inherent with the fact that we're dealing with nuclear fallout and shanty towns as opposed to our own little wooden cottages and life close to nature. Yeah, I would even say I strongly recommend this game. But there's a big caveat there. I said when I feel the itch for Banished. Banished is an itch that comes and goes. Sometimes it takes a few years to come back. So if I'm in the mood for a game where I build, but not specifically that Banished kind of itch, then this one wouldn't be the one to scratch it. Still though, if you like Banished, you're doing yourself a disfavor by not picking this up. A disfavor. Right, I want to go and check out one of these more advanced places. I don't want it to just be the journey of how we crossed the road and found a greenhouse. Got a lot of people dossing about as well. Let's get on the water carrying, back to the gathering. There's always more scrap to be had. Okay, we were interested in this helicopter location, weren't we? The site is promising. The radar doesn't show exactly what we're dealing with. We should send out one of our scouts to check the place. And when we know what we're dealing with, we can start an expedition. It takes a long time to go there, but go we shall. Except we need some free scouts. Ah, Philip can go and scout it out. He knows what he's doing. We need pastel-coloured favelas like Brazil instead of brown, drab shanties. I need to look into what they've said about modding support for this game, because if they are not doing mod support, then I will be enormously disappointed. Banished was a one-man show. That game was able to... did it have mod support? It wasn't difficult to mod, but I don't remember if it was truly supported. No, of course it was. It even had a workshop for it. Okay, then back to my original point. Banished was a one-man show, and it had decent mod support. Maybe it's my time working at Paradox speaking there, but Paradox... I wouldn't say it lives and dies on mod support, but Paradox has done far more successfully than they otherwise would have thanks to mod support. There are a lot of relatively hidden advantages to that as well. For example, Paradox could never, ever do something like the... Oh, Christ, what are those books made by that fat guy? Lots of killing, incest. Has an RR in his name. George R. Martin or something like that. Game of Thrones, there we go. Paradox could never officially do anything related to Game of Thrones. The amount of hot water they'd get into that would be... it would sink the company. But, thanks to modding support, mods can do that. And Paradox, well, there's no other way to put it. Paradox profits off of that quite nicely. Gets the name out there, gets some experience out there that people can invest with, and none of the legal problems. Tell you what, something we've been avoiding all this time is research and power. I want to get onto both of those things. Electricity, I want a solar collector. Oh, needs to be researched. It was just unlocked in the tutorial, I think. Still, tech, research station, let's go. It's an unattractive neighbor to have. It's also huge. I believe it requires a lot of resources, so I have no qualms with putting it next to our main central point there. I don't know, CK has tons of incest and killing and stuff. No, I was specifically thinking about the book. Or books. I'm not an avid reader anymore, so I would not have known if people hadn't chimed in there. But yes, Game of Thrones. George R.R. Martin. Yeah, some of these buildings get real big. That would be a problem if this were banished, but it's not banished. Okay, let's go over some immediate improvements this has from banished. As we appreciate Philip here making this trek. Did I actually give you any food for your scouting? Well, that's your problem. This map is huge. I like that, and it probably gets bigger. Banished maps were comparatively tiny, and even though they were small, you still couldn't reasonably fill them up all that much, because the game had the death march bug. Well, not bug, just the way the mechanics worked. Your people would walk to their deaths. On top of that, everybody remember when you're trying to place something down in Banished, and there are... Can I build something? I'm trying to prove a point here. There we go. You're trying to build something, and there's this little red square saying you can't build here because this piece of land is like 3 inches taller than the rest of the land, ergo it's a hill, ergo you can't build here. That was infuriating. I'm not sure if there were mods for leveling the ground. There probably was, but oh man, horrible. Here, it's a bit obvious where you can't build. Look, here's a big mountain. Here's a big body of water. The mountains are jarring. I've never seen a mountain in my life that looks like any of this stuff. But, well, they're hills rather than mountains, aren't they? Maybe cliffs. Point is, it stops that horrible frustration. It's very clear to see where you can build and where you can't build. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot of quality of life hitting here that wasn't in Banished. Hey Chief, there's a ruin of a hospital out here, and that is if you can give any credence to the eroding letters and green cross above the entrance. One part of the building's already collapsed and probably been long since looted, but if I were you, I'd still send an expedition. It's a sure thing there'll still be something left to salvage after 100 years. Sure, why not? It would be good to have a technician, a medic, a settler, and a tailor. Okay, sure, we'll have all of those. You can go, you can go, you can go. I don't have a medic because I've been bothering with that. And I need a lot of action points. So, must first be produced. You know what, let's bring a lot of stuff with us. 8 whole rations. It'll take them some time to get it put together, but that's okay. And whilst they're getting that ready, I want to work on research. Because that's something we have not touched so far. And I want to touch it. Surprisingly though, wood is a problem. My 1 forestry commission is not enough to keep up with the wood desires of my people. But I'm sure we'll get that wood. Actually, charcoal desires that wood as well. So did the tools and that. Okay. Wood production needs to step up a bit. Resources... No, it's not. It's a task. Gather wood. Gatherer. There you go. Plenty of wood to be had there. And you need actual people to do it for you as well, so... Forget building when there's wood to be had. I'll go and get that soon enough, I'm sure. What could go wrong with no one knowing medicine? I'll be fine. Don't be a wee girl's blouse. Man, this... I gotta say, it's really impressive how they managed to pull out a tree, roots and all. If you're driving a car and need to crash into anything, make sure it's not a tree. The tree will not give. They are collecting that wood, right? Yeah, they are. It's just it's immediately being thrown into the research station. Fair enough. Okay, time to look at what I reckon is the ugliest thing in the game. Hey, those settlers built. Ooh, that's interesting. I need to get a better idea on everything that settlers do, because I didn't have anyone assigned to building and yet they built it. Okay, no engineer cast in this game. You can just tell people to get working on it. And then you have this. This, I'll be honest, is hideous. Like, what am I looking at? There's so much wasted space on this tech tree, but it's the game's tech tree. Looks like there are different levels that need to be unlocked, much like in Frostpunk. And... well, we start out with basic stuff, right? So surely I could learn about electronics. No, it needs a lot of knowledge and research things. Wood and scrap. So my need for wood is dire once again. Researchers work on accumulating knowledge as long as no research has been started, so at least they can get going on that. At least it's no RimWorld tech tree. The RimWorld tech tree is not too shabby, I'd say. It's certainly not as ugly as what we just saw there. And I'm sorry, but that was hideous. All the wasted space on that. It's kind of a real bummer. Radiation is a thing in this game, and it's not something we've seen much of ourselves at all. It's been 21 seasons and we haven't had much radiated rain or radiated fallout hitting us. It's probably just because I'm playing on normal mode. I assume it gets worse over time. If I'd had to worry about radiation, then... actually, I'm quite well stocked for radiation. Everybody wears good protective stuff. I mean, the only thing that we are not going to be good with is high radiation. And I imagine it's a big thing when that arrives. Our water could become radiated, but I do have plenty of charcoal to filter it. I guess the only other problem is if the food became irradiated, and then I just tell them to chow down. I'd build some kind of hospice for them. So even if radiation were appearing here, I think we'd be able to deal with it. Oh yeah, there's not radiation and no radiation, much like in real life. There are different levels of it, none, low, medium, and high, but the whole world seems really clean of radiation. In fact, there was a lot of radiation early on. We dug some of it away, but the rest of it just went away on its own. Just like the Brazilian approach to radiation. Except these people would also think it's literal magic. Okay, how about that expedition, Chief? They're still preparing, they're making their rations, that's fine, as I would expect. They're just picking up food from our party van. What are people moaning about? Oncoming drought, not a problem, we have water. Actually, we have rather a lot of water stored up. This is going smoothly, really rather smoothly. So they need to generate this research before I can make them do something. And then since I want electricity, I would have them do electronics. But from then, they'd have to do... one research utensil will be needed to be able to perform research at this level. Okay, sure. Kind of leapfrog that in the tutorial, but hey ho. Need to research things like warehouse, radio, advanced school. An advanced school fully educates children in all subjects, and educational training also occurs distinctly faster. How deep does this go? This feels like it's still kind of an early access here. We research how to bake a cake. But it's a piece of cake to bake a plate of cake. Oh well. Well, I can't reasonably tear into that if I don't tear into the fact that Frostpunk makes you research the idea of a drawing board. The difference is that Frostpunk is set in the 19th century. Ah, yeah, don't bother, Hoxton. I'm feeling this game out for myself. Alright, almost got 100 people living here. The food diversity is good. Why is it so good? Tell me about the specific kinds of food we have. Berries, fish, beans. I don't know where we're getting the beans from. The corn. Okay, the beans and corn won't last. But just them existing seems to give me a better varied diet. I guess we just look at the corn as we chow down on our fish and venison. Oh man, venison is one of my favorite meats. I'd say it's my second favorite, and my favorite is boar. So, wonderful. Best meal I've ever had in my life was over in Vilnius. Oh, delicious boar steak. And because it was in Vilnius, it only cost not a lot of money. Oh, I want to see this again because it's so funny. I mean, what the hell is that? They sure are taking their time making those rations. That's alright, I'll give them the time. Gives me plenty of time to work on other things like generating this knowledge. Come on, folks, I need electricity. Some people are homeless, but that's okay. That'll discourage breeding. Then again, homelessness will stop them being so happy right now. Higher rate of reproduction. Ooh. You know, I haven't built a forum. We should change that. I also haven't done any defenses, but the game doesn't attack you without warning, which is quite nice of it. Is it community? Where's the forum at? There we go. Hey, the forum's even an attractive neighbor. And that's their first mistake. Needs metal. Needs a lot of metal, actually. Ooh, wow, okay. Well, I'm sure they'll get it over time. Yeah, this game does have combat. If you thought one thing Banished should have had was other angry Amish people coming to rob you of your hats and barns, then this game delivers what you wanted there. You will get attacked by raiders. They can kill your people and damage your buildings, but you can also set up defenses. You can set up watch... Oh, these also need to be researched. Interesting. You can make watchtowers, you can make ammunition factories, which do need sulfur. And then you can choose to make lethal bullets or non-lethal bullets. And then you set up a militia, which will protect your colony. If you don't do that, then they'll either come and loot and kill and burn down part of your city, or they'll keep demanding stuff from you. And if you ever don't give in to them, then they will come and attack for more. The tutorial was very thorough. I think I played it for about as much time as I've been playing today. Can you take prisoners? No, you shoot them until they die or run away. Non-lethal bullets hurt their morale. Well, this scrapyard is all scrapped out. Guess I could just get rid of it, or redirect your attention over here, or even up there. I'll go and clear this stuff out. Just this one thing, this being able to change the area of work, is a wonderful change in the dynamic of growing your city. Because in this kind of game, you just expect, okay, build scrap factory, it's done, tear it down, rebuild here, tear it down, rebuild here. That whole level of tedium is gone. You can have a centralized scrap factory that goes out and deals with this, and maybe it's beneficial to keep it here, rather than out there for a certain period of time. I love it. I don't know why this hasn't been a thing for so long. It's genius. Apparently non-lethal is more effective. Well, your attackers have a strength bar and a morale bar, and if you kill either of them, then they're going to go away. Wasn't I thinking of building a shelter for these people? Probably. Don't know how that would have left my mind so quickly. How's the expedition looking? Slowly but surely they're building up those rations, but the emphasis is on slowly. Ah, maybe it's because the workforce is so tiny. Take some actual workforce. Hell, I don't need them. Strength and morale sounds like Dominions 5. Oh god, don't say the D word. Dom 5 has been on my mind. I could certainly go for some more. Right, metal's in a bit of a shortage. I'm going to switch over to making scrap tools for a while. Where's my other workshop? It's you. Make the scrap tools. I don't know if they work worse or just break faster. If it's anything like Banished, the steel tools only last longer. They don't make people more effective at their work outside of not wasting more time getting more tools. But it's a double-bladed one that, if somebody dies with a good tool on them, that good tool is gone forever. If they die with a crap tool on them, crap tool's gone forever. Know which one I'd rather lose. Achievement unlocked. Is this Sparta? Give tomorrow a reason, and Surviving 101. Huh, lots of achievement progress going on in this game. Ah, right, well I've cleared out a lot of this stuff, so this Gatherer's Cabin's looking a little worse for wear. I shall get rid of you. I shall also note that my drought is rearing its ugly head, and my population is a lot higher than it was before. Oh well. If people have to start eating each other, then so be it. They can eat irradiated soil for all I care. Oh, I was gonna say, enough of these guys wasted my time, but the expedition's already traveling. Neato. Off you trot. And if you're really enjoying this stream, then I'm sorry to say that this expedition is the last thing we are going to do. I really only came here to check out the game and share my experiences with it. A lot of people were asking me about this game, so it feels good to actually pick it apart, at least on a surface level, and see what's going on here. But I think my early claim was good. This is 80% Banished and 5% Frostpunk. You can decide what the other 15% is. If you really liked Banished, but you don't just want to play the game again, because frankly we've all played Banished too many times, even if you've never played it before, you want something different, and this delivers that really quite well, with a lot of quality of life improvements over anything that Banished had to offer. Is this a potential strategy slot game? I don't know. I don't think so. My heart says that this isn't something that I would come back to for extended periods of time, but I think I thought that about Dominions 5 when I first touched it, and then... how many hours was Dominions 5? I think it was quite a lot. How many hours was Dom 5? Quite a few. Yeah, Dom 5 was over 60 hours, which still didn't even place it in the top 5, I think. Yeah, at least not in the top 3. Still, dang. There was a lot of Dom 5ing. Some would say not enough hours. Some would say that. Does Nancy even count? Of course Nancy counts. Ah, Nancy. The game did indicate that expeditions can be dangerous if you go off ill-equipped for them, and thinking about it, I didn't give them any fancy tools, did I? Yeah, look at that. No tool, no protective clothing. Somewhat educated? No, there's a percentage of education for you. How about you? No tool, no clothing. And no tool, no clothing. Wow, okay. So, I'm assuming that they just ditched their clothing and their tool for the expedition, and you need to specifically give them that. Because they're building up radiation walking through this. They haven't walked through anything irradiated. Maybe he just... I don't know where he got it, because according to this, nowhere on the map is radiated. Radiated? Irradiated? I don't know, I'm not a whatever profession deals with radiation. No rations, my lord. Not a problem. At least now we get to see what happens when they start needing to eat each other. Ah, look, see, there's some lovely sows and boars to eat en route. Low food. Oh, do people have... Oh, right, yeah, the forum. I wanted to talk a bit about the forum. You erect a forum, and people will give you these missions to do. So thinking about it, doing these early probably would have been a good idea. One of our refiners found some interesting metal barrels. They're pretty heavy and filled with something. Should we open them? Yeah, let's do it. Recycler, instructor recycler to produce metal. Okay, so you get these things and then you get rewards for them. So I could get beans and peaches. This feels a little, yeah, like little mini missions inside my city builder. I get that some people might like that. I feel that's a little tacked on, but I guess having it's better than not, right? But you can tell people what to do. We could tell the elderly to get the hell out of here. Elderly settlers are banished from the settlement. Reduces the contentness of the remaining settlers by 3. Food rationing, water rationing, banish children. An immediate decree is carried out right away and cannot be carried out again until its abatement period of 3 seasons. Birth control. Motivation? Oh, we need to research what I assume are good ones. Search for survivors, paying attention to radio, da-da-da-da-da. Okay. This is as close to it comes as being horrible. You know what? We are starving a bit. Let's get these kids out of here. And let's get the elderly out of here as well. Bye-bye. How do I come out of here? There we go. That's an awful instruction you're giving us, Chief. We don't want to ever be forced to do something like that again. We demand that you dedicate your efforts so that something like this never has to occur again. Let's do it. We'll do what you decree, Chief. On the other hand, we don't feel too good about doing it, sending all these poor people away. They've already done so much for our settlement. We demand that you make efforts to ensure that we don't have to do something like this ever again. Okay! People are suddenly not so happy, but hey, just think of the good this will do the colony. Frostpunk intensifies. The people that we sent off on the expedition, though, they're going to come back and find a whole lot new rooms for them. Hungry settlers, unhappy settlers, homeless settlers. Die Siedler. Well, the people who went on an expedition are the only ones with food. So, have we gotten rid of these kids yet? Because it looks like I have a lot of kids. Why are you not killing banishing all the kids? Get to work. I'm glad you're not a politician, Jake, and some people are unhappy that I'm not. Where are those expedition folk at? I managed to lose track of them. Ah, they've made it.
Such a huge building to help sick people. How many could be treated here at the same time? When I think back and remember the little medical ward in the Endzone with no more than 5 beds.
Okay, so first off they check out the main entrance. One strong kick opened the door. We're standing in the lobby. Looks pretty desolate. The scout was right about his assumption that looting already occurred here after the catastrophe. Wouldn't mind a bit more lore on the catastrophe, but I feel it would be a bit on the nose. Right, so they have a first floor and a second floor, and I have 8 action points that I can do because of the rations that I gave them. Could I instruct them to eat one of their own so that they can do more? They could well, let's investigate the main hallway first. Headed further inside, it's kind of creepy. Okay. A junction, 2 more hallways, surgery, nuclear medicine, and administration. Ooh. Now, how can I say no to some nuclear medicine? At any rate, as for our technician, she thinks there's some high-quality electronic equipment here. Oh, that's a lot of electronics to get. That's a lot of plastic to get. Looks like looting is a pretty good way to go about getting a jump start into this. I don't think I've even researched electronics, but hey, there you go. We packed up the fixtures, gadgets, laboratory objects. We even got some research utensils so we can do yet more research. Yet more, as if we've done any. There's the administration. There's also the surgery. These operating rooms must have been well equipped. Da-da-da-da-da. An infected wound could turn into a lethal problem. Well, check it out. Ah, medicine. Drugs. Didn't realize Dark Young was on the scavenging team here. Okay, back a bit. We've still got 5 turns left. Check out the first floor. Oh. Da-da-da-da-da. Most of what's here has apparently been looted, but our scrap collector is certain. I like the idea that you bring people with certain tools and they get you some buyouts of these events. Reminds me of other great games like that, like Crusader Kings or FTL. Okay. Looting looks to be a very good thing to get going on this game then. What's on the second floor? Our tailor's already rubbing his hands with glee because it can be turned into first-rate protective clothing on this shelf full of bed curtains of plastic. There we go. I hope there are a lot of these events because it seems like something that that would get old real fast. Maybe this was expanded a lot on in early access. Oh well, we've hauled together a little bit of stuff, but nothing other than files, and more files. We'll take whatever. I think if I had someone with a medical badge on them, they would have done this. Right, I want to highlight this badge system a bit, because I haven't talked much about it, but first everybody's coming out, because we've looked at everything here, haven't we? We checked you out, we checked first floor and second floor, all done. Loot und return. And this time let's not forget everything. Okay, capacity is something to consider. Is it a 1-for-1? Is 55 scrap the same as 55? Okay. If you send out for a lot of this, bring a lot of stuff, bring a lot of people. But people could be sent back to grab more of it later on. So I could, for example, grab some electronics, but maybe focus more on tablets and medicine. Metal and cloth is good though. There you go, loot and return. Had it up to here with these rations. Yeah, too bad for you. Okay, the job system. Banished, if I recall what I read from the dev diaries as well as I think I did, Banished had this idea of people getting better at any job they did, but again, he couldn't find a way to make it fun. Because of the way that people worked, you would very quickly switch people from one job to the other, and because you have so many of them, it's hard to keep track and care about them. It's not like RimWorld where you have anything from 1 to maybe a dozen people. You can actually care a bit about what they do there. Like that game pulls off skills at jobs very well, but this game, how am I meant to care about over 100 people? How do I know that Billy the scrapyard worker has 20% ability in being Billy the charcoal kilner? You can't. But in this game, they've come up with a nice elegant solution, which are the badges here. So if somebody works hard at a job, they get a badge for it. Now I'm not actually sure if that makes them any better at the job, I doubt it does, but it's used for this expedition thing. So we went out there, the reason we were able to get better scraps out was because we had a scrapper experienced at taking them apart. Love that system. It was great. This game is full of really nice, elegant solutions to freshen up something that's a bit old and dated by now. Speaking of old and dated though, we've been at this for about 2.5 hours, and that's going to be where I draw the line here. This isn't much of a colony. Look at the size of the map. You could make something huge and ornate. But I do not have the time or inclination to do that when I could be playing State of Decay 2. So, do I have any closing words on this? I can't say one way or the other if this is going to be back on stream again. I imagine if I feel the itch for it, I'm going to knuckle down, figure out the scales of production in this game, set the difficulty to maximum, and make one hell of a nice survival city. But that depends on the itch, and I don't know if it's going to manifest anytime soon. But this game's wonderful. Like it's really a breath of fresh air for something that has laid stagnant since Banished came out. Banished was amazing. Yes, it was shallow, it didn't do a lot, but what it did very well. This takes everything Banished did, does it at least as well, adds lots of new layers on top of it, some better, some not so good, but overall, at least it's enough to bring a fresh experience. Now that sells it short. To put it in an even shorter way, I think this game is fantastic. But that's about all I have to say for Endzone, A World Apart. I want to thank the people whose names I can't remember for pointing this game out to me and says, hey Jake, you should really check it out. I'm glad I did. I play a lot of games. I like to have games that I don't have to play forever, but games like Europa and Dominions 5 and Nancy Drew keep coming up. What do we even call this? But doesn't change the fact that I like to play games and move on, and we'll certainly be moving on from here. I'll be back later on today with some State of Decay 2. I don't know when it's scheduled for. When is it scheduled for? 3.5 hours from now? I don't like the sound of that. Let's start it in much sooner than that. Let's start it in an hour, because I really want to stream a lot more today. A hell of a lot more. And it doesn't seem like enough time to dig my teeth into Polybridge. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, I'll be back in an hour with some State of Decay, but until then, cheers to... Cheers to the developers of this game, okay? You previously made Pizza Connection 3. I played that in stream and I thought it was god-awful, so when I saw that they'd also made this, I did have a bit of, oh... But you know what? You really pulled something special out of the bag. So, good job, Gently Mad Studios. I'm just droning on here. Alright, bye.